Good communication doesn't start with talking. It starts with understanding why you speak in the first place. We often think communication is about words, tone, or confidence, but at its core, communication is about connection. Every word you speak has the power to build a bridge or a wall, and the difference lies in how intentionally you speak. So, here are 9 communication tips that will truly change how you speak, not just to others, but to yourself. Before every conversation, ask yourself, why am I speaking? When you lead with purpose, your words gain direction. People don't remember what you said, they remember why it mattered. Great communicators don't dominate conversations. They create space for others. When you really listen, you make others feel valued. And when people feel valued, they open up. That's when communication becomes transformation. Clarity is not about using fewer words, it's about using the right ones. Cut the clutter, choose words that serve your message, not your ego. The simpler the message, the stronger the impact. Empathy is understanding without judgment. When you speak with empathy, you make others feel safe, and safety is the foundation of trust. Remember, people may forget your words, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Your body speaks before your mouth does. Eye contact, posture, pauses, they all communicate something. True presence isn't about performance. It's about being fully there with the person in front of you. Facts tell, but stories sell. A single story can do what 100 statistics cannot. It can make people care. When you share stories, you give meaning to your message. Silence is not the absence of communication, it's part of it. A well-timed pause gives your listener time to reflect, and your words time to sink in. Sometimes, silence speaks louder than sound. You don't need to sound polished to be powerful. You need to sound real. People trust those who show both strength and sincerity. Authenticity turns communication into connection. Every conversation leaves a footprint. Before you walk away, make sure what you said and how you said it leaves people inspired, understood, or encouraged. Communication isn't about finishing strong. It's about leaving meaning behind. So here's the truth. Great speakers aren't born, they're built through awareness, empathy, and courage. When you learn to speak with intention, listen with compassion, and connect with authenticity, you don't just change how you speak. You change how people experience you, and that, right there, is where influence begins. Most people believe communication is about exchanging information, passing data from one mind to another. But that's not communication, that's transmission. True communication begins when words move beyond logic and touch emotion. It's when understanding flows both ways, and both people walk away feeling seen, heard, and valued. When we speak only to deliver information, we engage the ears. When we speak to connect, we engage the heart. The purpose of communication, then, isn't to be right or to be heard. It's to create understanding, to build a bridge between your world and someone else's. Think about the last time you had a meaningful conversation, the kind that stayed with you for days. It wasn't because someone gave you a perfect explanation. It was because, for a few moments, you felt understood. You felt that the other person wasn't just listening to your words, they were listening to you. That's the essence of connection when communication transforms from sound waves into shared meaning. When we focus only on transmitting information, we fall into the trap of speaking to be impressive rather than expressive. We rush to respond, explain, and convince, forgetting that communication is not a competition. It's collaboration. Every conversation has two purposes, to share and to receive. Without both, communication collapses into monologue. True connection happens when both speaker and listener feel emotionally aligned, even if they disagree intellectually. Connection-based communication requires presence. You cannot connect with someone when your attention is divided. In a world filled with distractions, presence has become a rare form of respect. When you look someone in the eye, put your phone away, and listen with genuine curiosity, you're sending a silent message that says, "You matter." That simple act alone can transform how people respond to you. Presence amplifies trust, and trust is the foundation upon which every great conversation is built. Another key part of connecting through communication is empathy, the ability to step into someone else's experience without trying to fix or judge it. Most of us listen with the intent to reply, not to understand. But connection begins when you slow down long enough to feel what the other person feels. Empathy doesn't require agreement, it requires acknowledgement. It's saying, I may not have lived your experience, but I can see how it feels for you. That acknowledgement validates the other person's reality, creating a safe space for openness and honesty. Connection also depends on vulnerability. To connect deeply, you must be willing to be seen not as a polished version of yourself, but as a real human being. Vulnerability doesn't mean oversharing, it means speaking from truth. It's admitting uncertainty, expressing emotion, and sharing what genuinely matters to you. People connect to honesty, not perfection. When you speak with vulnerability, you give permission for others to do the same. That's when walls come down and understanding grows. Language is another bridge of connection, but it works best when it's simple and sincere. The most powerful communicators aren't those who use complicated words, but those who use words that make people feel. A simple phrase like "I understand you," "I believe in you," or "I hear you" carries far more weight than any eloquent argument. Clarity in language reflects clarity in intent. When people sense your message comes from a genuine place, they lower their defenses and open their hearts. Connection through communication also thrives on curiosity. When you ask thoughtful questions, you show interest beyond yourself. Questions invite collaboration. They tell the other person, your thoughts matter. Great communicators are great questioners. They don't seek to dominate the dialogue, they seek to discover. Curiosity keeps the exchange alive and prevents communication from turning into a lecture. Nonverbal signals play a crucial role in creating connection as well. Your tone, facial expressions, and gestures all carry emotional data. A soft tone can convey empathy. A genuine smile can build instant rapport. People often forget your words but remember your energy. Your body language either reinforces or contradicts your message. If your words say "I care," but your posture says "I'm distracted," the connection fades. Authentic communication means your body and words are aligned with your intention. Connection in communication requires patience. Understanding doesn't always happen instantly. It grows through moments of silence, reflection, and clarification. Sometimes the best communicators are those who allow pauses, who give space for others to find their words. When you rush the process, you risk hearing only the surface of what's being said. When you slow down, you discover meaning beneath the words. To truly change how you speak, shift your focus from "what do I want to say" to "what do I want them to feel." The first drives transmission, the second creates connection. Every time you speak, you have a choice to inform or to inspire, to talk or to connect. And when you choose connection, your words stop being just sounds, they become experiences that people remember, trust, and carry forward. Listening is the most underestimated skill in communication. Many people believe that the power to influence lies in how eloquently they speak, how confidently they present themselves, or how convincing their arguments sound. But true influence doesn't come from talking, it comes from listening. Listening is not a passive act, it's an active form of respect. It signals to the other person that their thoughts and emotions matter. When people feel heard, they become more open, more trusting, and more willing to engage. That's where real influence begins. Most individuals listen with one goal: to respond. They wait for their turn to speak, rehearsing their reply in their minds instead of absorbing what's being said. This habit creates surface-level conversations that lack depth or understanding. To listen with influence, you must shift your intention from replying to understanding. This shift transforms the quality of your interactions. When someone feels genuinely understood, they lower their guard, their mind opens, their emotions settle. That's when communication becomes transformative. Listening is more than hearing words. It's about decoding meaning, emotion, and intent. Words carry information, but tone and body language reveal emotion. A person may say, "I'm fine," yet their voice trembles or their shoulders drop. If you listen only to the words, you'll miss the truth. To influence someone, you must listen not only to what they say, but to what they mean. Pay attention to pauses, hesitations, and what is not being said. These silent signals often reveal more than the spoken ones. Influential listening requires curiosity. When you approach a conversation with the mindset, I want to understand you, you invite honesty. Ask questions that help people go deeper, not to interrogate, but to explore. Questions like, what makes you feel that way? Or can you tell me more about that? Show genuine interest. Curiosity transforms listening from a transaction into an experience of discovery. It tells the speaker that their story matters, that their feelings are valid, and that their words have weight. Patience is another cornerstone of influential listening. In our fast-paced world, silence makes many people uncomfortable. They rush to fill the gaps, but silence is not a void, it's a space for reflection. When you give someone a moment to think before they answer, you communicate respect. You tell them that their words are worth waiting for. Patience in listening is a quiet form of leadership. It encourages depth, honesty, and self-expression. Empathy elevates listening from intellectual to emotional understanding. When you listen with empathy, you're not just processing information. You're stepping into someone else's emotional landscape. You're saying, I see you. I feel what you feel. This emotional alignment creates safety, and safety breeds openness. When people feel emotionally safe, they share more truthfully, and the more truth you hear, the more effectively you can respond, guide, and influence. Listening also builds trust, the invisible currency of influence. People don't trust those who talk the most, they trust those who listen the best. When others sense that you're not trying to win the conversation, but to understand it, they start to believe in your intention. Trust doesn't come from agreement, it comes from genuine attention. When you consistently listen without judgment or interruption, you earn the kind of credibility that no speech can buy. Influential listening involves listening to differences without defensiveness. Most people listen only to confirm their own beliefs. True listeners, however, seek to expand their perspective. They approach disagreement not as a threat, but as an opportunity to learn. When you can listen to someone you disagree with and still make them feel respected, you display the highest form of influence. Because influence isn't about changing someone's mind, it's about opening it. Nonverbal listening is just as powerful as verbal. Your eyes, posture, and facial expressions all communicate whether you are truly engaged. Leaning forward, nodding subtly, maintaining eye contact, these actions silently tell the speaker, I'm here with you. On the other hand, crossed arms, fidgeting, or glancing at a phone send the opposite message. Nonverbal listening reinforces emotional presence. It's how people know that your attention is not just physical, but psychological. One of the most overlooked aspects of listening is reflection, repeating or summarizing what you've heard to confirm understanding. Phrases like what I'm hearing is, or it sounds like you're feeling, demonstrate that you are not just hearing but comprehending. Reflection deepens clarity and prevents miscommunication. It also strengthens connection because it validates the speaker's emotions and experiences. Listening can also influence yourself. When you learn to listen, truly listen, you become more self-aware. You start noticing how often you interrupt, how quickly you judge, and how easily you drift away mentally. This self-awareness leads to more intentional communication. You become less reactive and more responsive. You begin to choose your words more thoughtfully, guided not by impulse but by understanding. In every interaction, the person who listens the most learns the most. The person who learns the most influences the most. Speaking gets attention, but listening earns respect. Listening transforms conversations into connections, and connections into influence. When you give someone your full attention, you give them something rare and powerful, the experience of being truly heard. And in that moment, your ability to influence quietly expands, not through persuasion, but through presence. Clarity is the foundation of effective communication. It's the bridge between what you mean and what others understand. Many people confuse intelligence with complexity. They believe using sophisticated words, long sentences, or abstract ideas makes them sound smarter. But true intelligence lies in simplicity. The best communicators are not those who impress people with words. They are those who express ideas so clearly that others remember and act on them. Clarity makes communication not just understandable, but impactful. When communication is unclear, even the most valuable message loses power. Confusion creates distance between the speaker and the listener. When your audience has to work too hard to interpret your message, they disengage. But when you communicate with precision and purpose, your message cuts through the noise. Clarity acts like light. It illuminates meaning, removes misunderstanding, and allows people to see your intention. A clear message doesn't need to fight for attention. It naturally earns it. Clarity begins with knowing your purpose. Before speaking, ask yourself, what exactly do I want to communicate? The clearer you are in your own mind, the clearer your message will be to others. Many people speak before they think, and as a result, their words wander without direction. Intentional communication requires structure. You need to define the why, the what, and the how of your message. When you speak with a defined intention, every word serves a purpose. Purpose-driven clarity turns conversation into understanding and understanding into action. Clarity also depends on language choice. Simple language is not a sign of weakness, it's a mark of mastery. Think of the greatest teachers, leaders, and storytellers. They all use words that anyone can grasp, yet their ideas carry depth. Simple language does not mean shallow thought. It means removing unnecessary complexity so the essence of the message shines through. Using everyday words instead of jargon ensures your message travels faster and further. People cannot connect with what they cannot comprehend. Another dimension of clarity is structure. Ideas must have order. A well-structured message guides the listener through a logical flow. It begins with context, builds with explanation, and ends with meaning. Without structure, even good ideas feel scattered. When people cannot follow your train of thought, they stop listening. Structuring your communication helps others navigate your ideas smoothly. Think of it like a roadmap. Clarity gives direction, while complexity leaves people lost. Tone and delivery also shape clarity. The way you say something influences how it's understood. Speaking too fast, using filler words, or overloading information blurs meaning. Clear communication requires intentional pacing. Pausing after important points allows your message to sink in. Modulating your tone adds emphasis and helps listeners distinguish what matters most. When your delivery matches your message, understanding deepens naturally. Clarity thrives on brevity. The fewer words it takes to express an idea, the more memorable it becomes. Every extra word weakens impact. Brevity is not about cutting meaning, it's about removing clutter. When you edit your words, whether in speech or writing, you make space for your message to breathe. Brevity demands discipline, but it's one of the most powerful habits a communicator can cultivate. As the saying goes, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. Clarity takes effort, but the effort shows respect for your audience's time and attention. Clarity also requires empathy. To be clear, you must first understand who you are speaking to. The same message delivered to a colleague, a child, or a client must take different forms. Great communicators tailor their language, tone, and examples to match the listener's level of understanding. Empathy helps you adjust your message so it resonates with the person in front of you. Without empathy, even clear words can miss their mark. Clarity is not only about how you speak, it's about how others receive what you say. Visual and emotional clarity go hand in hand. People remember what they can picture and feel. When you use vivid examples, metaphors, and relatable stories, your message becomes tangible. Abstract concepts gain life through imagery. Instead of saying, "we need better teamwork," say, "we need to row in the same direction." The second image is simple, memorable, and clear. Metaphors translate complexity into experience, turning ideas into emotions people can hold on to. Listening also plays a role in maintaining clarity. Clear communication is not one way. It requires feedback. After you share an idea, pay attention to how people respond. Are they nodding, questioning, or looking confused? Their reactions reveal whether your message landed. Clarity means being open to adjusting your explanation based on feedback. The goal is not to finish speaking, it's to ensure understanding. Consistency is another pillar of clarity. Mixed messages create confusion and erode trust. When your words, actions, and tone align, people know what to expect from you. Consistency builds reliability, and reliability strengthens clarity. Whether you're leading a team, teaching a lesson, or having a personal conversation, consistency keeps your message grounded. It tells people that your communication has direction and integrity. Clarity ultimately requires humility. You must care more about being understood than about sounding impressive. When you prioritize understanding, you remove ego from communication. You stop performing and start connecting. Clear communication is not about showing how much you know, it's about helping others see what you see. Humility transforms clarity into service. It turns your message into a gift rather than a performance. When you communicate with clarity, you reduce misunderstanding, increase trust, and amplify influence. Clarity is not the opposite of depth, it's the path to it. Complex ideas delivered simply can change how people think, feel, and act. Clarity doesn't just make your words stronger, it makes your presence more powerful. Because in a world overflowing with noise, the clearest voice always carries the farthest. Authenticity is the heartbeat of powerful communication. It's the quality that makes people trust your words, believe your message, and connect with your presence. When you speak authentically, your words align with your values, your emotions match your tone, and your intention is rooted in honesty. Authenticity isn't about perfection or performance, it's about truth. People are naturally drawn to those who speak from a place of sincerity, because authenticity communicates integrity without needing explanation. In communication, authenticity functions as a mirror. It reflects who you truly are. Many people believe they must sound confident, polished, or persuasive to be taken seriously. But when communication becomes performance, it loses soul. The listener may admire your delivery, but won't feel your message. Authenticity removes the mask. It allows others to see the real person behind the words. When people sense that what you say and who you are the same, credibility follows naturally. Credibility doesn't come from titles, experience, or vocabulary. It comes from consistency. When your actions match your words, you earn trust over time. Authentic communication reinforces that consistency. It sends a clear message: I mean what I say, and I live by what I speak. Audiences can detect insincerity almost instantly. Tone, posture, and micro-expressions reveal what words cannot hide. Authenticity, therefore, cannot be faked. It must be felt first by you, then by those who listen. Vulnerability is one of authenticity's greatest strengths. It allows you to share your humanity rather than hide behind authority. Vulnerability doesn't mean exposing every detail of your life. It means showing that you're real, that you have doubts, fears, and lessons learned. When a speaker admits mistakes or shares genuine emotions, they don't lose credibility, they gain it. Vulnerability bridges the gap between the person talking and the person listening. It creates an emotional bond that information alone can never build. Authenticity also demands self-awareness. To speak authentically, you must first understand your own beliefs, values, and motivations. If you don't know what you stand for, your words will feel hollow. Self-awareness helps you communicate from a centered place, not from a desire to impress, but from a commitment to express. When you know your why, your communication becomes anchored in purpose. Every sentence carries weight because it stems from conviction, not convenience. Listening plays a vital role in authenticity. When you listen with attention and empathy, you communicate respect. Authentic people listen not to respond, but to understand. They give others the gift of full presence. This kind of listening creates a mutual exchange. It says, I value your truth as much as I value mine. Authentic communicators understand that credibility grows in both directions. When you make people feel heard, they become more open to hearing you. Authenticity thrives in simplicity. The more straightforward your message, the more genuine it feels. Overly rehearsed or exaggerated language distances you from your audience. Simplicity doesn't mean lack of preparation, it means removing artifice. When you speak plainly and honestly, your message resonates because it feels real. Audiences can feel authenticity not through perfect sentences, but through unfiltered sincerity. The pauses, the tone shifts, even the imperfections, they all make you relatable. Another key aspect of authenticity is emotional congruence, ensuring your emotions align with your message. If you speak about hope but sound indifferent, your words lose power. If you speak about challenge but show no vulnerability, your audience senses disconnection. Emotions are the carriers of authenticity. They give your words depth and dimension. Authentic communicators don't suppress emotion. They channel it with honesty and balance. When your message and emotion harmonize, credibility becomes unshakable. Authenticity also requires courage, the courage to speak truth even when it's uncomfortable. Many people dilute their message out of fear of judgment. They say what is acceptable instead of what is real. But credibility grows when you stand firm in your truth, delivered with respect and empathy. Courageous authenticity is not about being confrontational, it's about being clear, compassionate, and unwavering in your principles. People respect honesty even when they disagree with it, because honesty earns trust. Consistency between your private and public communication reinforces authenticity. The way you speak in professional settings should align with how you communicate in personal ones. If your tone changes drastically depending on your audience, people sense manipulation. Authenticity means showing up as the same person, humble, transparent, and genuine, regardless of the setting. This consistency strengthens credibility because it removes uncertainty. People know what to expect from you, and reliability deepens trust. Authenticity also depends on intention. Every message you share carries an underlying motive to teach, persuade, comfort, or inspire. When your intention is self-serving, people feel it. When your intention is to serve or add value, they trust it. Audiences may not remember every detail of what you said, but they will always remember how your intention made them feel. Credibility is born when intention and expression align toward a purpose greater than ego. Feedback is another important factor in sustaining authenticity. Genuine communicators are open to learning how their message is received. They don't defend, they reflect. They view feedback not as criticism, but as calibration. Authenticity doesn't mean rigidity, it means adaptability without losing integrity. When you are willing to listen and evolve while staying true to your values, people see honesty in motion. That openness reinforces credibility more than any scripted response ever could. Authenticity radiates through presence. Being fully present with your audience, whether it's one person or 1,000, conveys sincerity. Presence cannot be faked. It is felt through eye contact, tone, and silence. When you give undivided attention, your message carries emotional weight. Authentic presence tells your audience, this moment matters. And in that shared moment, credibility takes root not through persuasion, but through genuine connection. Authenticity, in the end, turns communication into trust building. It replaces performance with purpose, noise with meaning, and persuasion with truth. When people believe in your authenticity, they don't just hear your words, they believe your message.